even if I don't understand it now, like being patient through the anxiety and the rough moments, like you really in entrepreneurship, side hustling, whatever you choose to do, you got to do it scared. Like no one is going to, like I thought when I went full time and when I got certain publications and things, I just was like, oh, the imposter syndrome will go away. It doesn't go away. The fear doesn't go away. None of all of that's there, but it's like, how do you keep a positive abundance mindset through those tough moments and keep going?
Welcome to the Designer's Oasis podcast. I'm your host, Kate Bendewald, interior designer, mama, and CEO of a thriving interior design business built on authentic word-of-mouth referrals. It wasn't that long ago that I stepped away from my corporate architecture job to build my own dream, one that would allow me more time with the people that I love, the ability to serve my clients at the highest level, and to make a great living. It wasn't always easy, and I've made my share of mistakes along the way. Fast forward to today, and I've learned a thing or two. This podcast is for you, the inspired, creative, ambitious, and let's admit it, occasionally overwhelmed interior designer who shares this dream of transforming lives by transforming homes. Join me and my guest each week as we walk through practical ways to build an interior design business you love and helps you transform your clients' lives. You can do this. Thank you for letting me spend part of this day with you. Let's get to it. My guest today is Amber Guyton, the creative mind behind Blessed Little Bungalow. She's a marketer, financial services advisor turned blogger, influencer, interior designer, and now collaborator with companies like World Market and Mitchell Black, where she recently launched a beautiful line of wallpapers. Her work has been featured on HGTV Magazine, House Beautiful, Forbes, Architectural Digest, Ebony Apartment Therapy, Domino, Atlanta Homes and Lifestyles, and many more. Now based in Atlanta, Georgia, Amber's designs are beautiful, color-filled homes that she designs exclusively for her clients, both locally and nationwide. My friend, you are in for a real treat. Amber is as real as it gets. I love how down to earth she is, how authentic she is, and she just has this lovely candor. And I cannot wait for us to get into the episode. We're going to talk about imposter phenomenon, comparison, authenticity, and finding balance when we want to do so much as creative individuals. I will say that there's just a brief moment at the beginning of this episode where I made a mistake and her side of the podcast was not being recorded. So I just want to say it might sound just a tiny bit funny, but I'm going to give you a little backstory real quick before we go live so you kind of know where we were. But trust me, you didn't miss but a minute or so. And so overall, we have one of the best episodes that we've done in a long time, and you are really going to benefit. I know it. But really, I was asking Amber, and I will be sure to link to some of her blog posts and past information. So if you really want to get the deep dive on her backstory, you can definitely get your hands on that. But Amber had been sharing with us how she had been working in the marketing sector and then the financial services arena at this lovely, cushy corporate job where she had great benefits and life was good, but she felt that creative calling. She had been doing Blessed Little Bungalow as a blog for, I want to say 5, almost 6 years before she finally decided to make a go of it full time, and that she did it scared, like so many of us do. And then I had just simply asked her, what were some of the things that you were doing to, once you decided to go full force with this and take that very brave and bold step to leave that corporate job and do this full time? What were some of the first things that she started to do? So that's right what we're going to pick up at the beginning of this episode. I know you're going to enjoy it. Let's listen to our chat with our friend Amber.
So I did my due diligence, got my domain, got my website created, and got professional photos taken of my own house because that's the only thing in my portfolio is my own home, and we all start somewhere. So that's what was on that, and a couple of headshots in the dead heat of San Antonio, Texas. Those were what was on my website back in April on April 4th, 2016.
As a fellow
So
Texan,
then,
I know what that heat felt like. It was dense.
yes, I feel like it was like the evening. It was like golden hour, but it was still hot. I had on like this tweed blazer, this tweed teal color blazer. It was anyway, I survived. Uh so yeah, then BLB launched, and each week I would just talk about a different space in my house that I decluttered or organized or decorated. And over time, 8 years of time, but over time, my following continued to grow. And I got my first project was actually one that I gifted. It was free to my friends that were having a baby. I did their nursery. At the time, they lived in Greenville, South Carolina. They've since moved to Austin, but I think they're going to be moving back to the Carolinas soon. But I designed their nursery from afar. And ended up flying in and finishing, putting all the finishing touches on it. And to this day, it's still on my portfolio. If you scroll all the way down,
That's precious.
there it
I love
is,
that.
special
Well, and what
delivery.
a great way to sort of kick off your business is with a
Right.
gift and like putting that kind of really generous energy into the world.
Yeah, yeah. So it was with that project that it began. And I think I enjoy kids products. I enjoy kids projects, kids rooms, playrooms, nurseries. And I think people are a little more less nervous about they're just like, oh yeah, go ahead, do the kids room. Like you can be creative, but it's also like there's less guardrails. And so it was a fun project. And then from there were like two local, I call them my first stranger clients that reached out to me in San Antonio. And then I did a bunch of projects like back home in South Carolina and North Carolina and Atlanta. And then it just continued to grow. And so I started out as an e-designer and still pretty much am still an e-designer. I'm an e-design hybrid for the local clients. But yeah, that's how Blessed Little Bungalow started. So it was a side hustle. I was doing it on the side of my corporate career. And then after 5 years, I decided, okay, like maybe now it's time to take the leap of faith and do this thing for real, for real. And during the pandemic, a lot of what they call it the Great Resignation, where a lot of people were just quitting and doing their own thing, and so did I. So in 2021, that summer, I had just moved back to Atlanta. The company I worked for had just IPO'd, and it just felt like, okay, this is a sweet spot. We could stay here, or we can say, well, if I could just make a third of what I was making in corporate and completely own my time and do what I love, let's do this and give yourself a year. And if you hate it, then you can go back. And so yeah, that's been my journey.
I want to get into the conversation of authenticity and balance, but I've got to take a quick detour based on what you just said, because you're reminding me of a question that I get so often from designers. And that is, how do I know when it's the right time to take the leap? And I think a lot of times people are looking for, well, in some cases, they're looking for a concrete answer, something like 6 months worth of income or an answer like that. And
Yeah.
where I'm a person, and I think this depends on you as an individual, like to think about your guardrails and what you're comfortable with. Where
Mm.
some people are more strategic and some people are more go with their gut or their instinct, and they're, I guess, maybe a lot more trusting with life. I don't know. So, where were you there? Because you obviously come from a finance background. You already shared your passion for building personal wealth and that sort of thing. And I'm not asking you to give somebody a concrete answer unless you feel like called to do
Sure.
that. But what was your frame of mind as you decided that you were going to leave this um, predictable career, a predictable, paycheck, so to speak, into this new world where you were really at the helm and driving your own income. Walk us through that.
So it was a couple of things. I feel like nothing seemed real during the pandemic, right? We were just kind of like floating and surviving each
Yeah,
day.
so
So
true.
in that environment, like had I gone full time when I first started Blessed Little Bungalow, I would have failed. I didn't know what I was doing. I still don't know what I'm doing. I'm still just figuring it out.
Nonsense.
I wasn't making any money. I wasn't charging enough. I'm still not charging enough. But I was not in a place then at year one, year zero to year one, and even year 3 or 4, I feel like I was still like, it was like around year from 4 to 6 were the years I felt like I quote unquote blew up. Like I
Hmm.
needed to lay that foundation. Like there are certain projects I've had in the last 24 months I probably would not have landed or have done as well should I had I not, laid that groundwork, and just
Hmm.
the relationships built and the people I've met, and the mistakes, so many mistakes that I made. Like
Sure.
all of it was a part of the journey for a reason. When I think about when I decided to quit, and go full time, like granted, I'd been building BLB for 5 years. Um, I could see like what that P&L looked like in comparison to what my annual salary was. And working in tech, it's a lucrative salary, great benefits. Like honestly, losing the benefits was probably the more terrifying part than the salary. But also, the very next month there were, I mean, not month, but definitely within a year, tons of layoffs. And you could still see it today where tech is kind of finicky because there was a lot of probably over hiring during the pandemic, and now they're kind of shedding. And it's not just tech,
Hmm.
it's a lot of industries.
Yeah.
So I felt like the timing worked out. Like in hindsight, I bought my new house here in Atlanta right before interest rates spiked and housing market prices went crazy. So, being able to buy the house with that corporate salary versus as a full-time entrepreneur was smart timing. Um, I had heard from other people like, oh, you need to have 12 months of income saved before you quit your
Sure.
job. You need to have, because if an emergency fund is 6 months, then a quit my job emergency fund is 12 months. And I did not have that. No matter how savvy I am, or
Sure.
honestly, I'm a spender versus a saver. So I was not, if I had waited to save 12 months of income, yeah. I'm not needy. I'm wanting. Absolutely. Like close, like delete the Anthropology and Amazon and Target apps off my phone, because if I see it, I'm going to buy it. It's real. It's a problem. But I had some savings, and like I mentioned, my company had just IPO'd, so I knew like worst case scenario, you could sell some stocks and
Hmm.
figure that out. And then also, 2 years prior, well, really 3 years prior, in 2018, I had just finished paying off my consumer debt. Like, so I had a student loan, I had a car loan, credit cards. Like, it took 2 years doing the whole Dave Ramsey thing, just like, well, somewhat Dave Ramsey-ish, because I kept my credit cards, don't tell them. But I took 2 years to pay off like 100 grand of debt. So the only debt I had was this new
Wow.
house I bought. So there were a lot of things that
Which
were
is
in my
amazing.
favor. Right, right. So there were a lot of things that were set up in my favor, but did I have the adequate amount of savings I should have had? And did I feel 100% confident? Absolutely not. I gave my company a 4 week notice because I knew the amount of work that was on me, and I wanted to give them time to like adjust and figure things out and finish some of the projects I had. Um, and they ended up posting my position like a week later. So that was like, in my mind, I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, you should have quit this job. Like, love the company, love the people, but at the end of the day, it's a business. So
Right.
It's time to prioritize yourself, girl. So yeah, there's been many moments, even 2 weeks after I gave my notice, I was walking with a friend down the Beltline here in Atlanta, and I was just like, "Yeah, I don't know if I did the right thing." And
Yeah.
she was just like, "Well, can you change your mind? Can you go back?" I was like, "Oh, no, 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 no. Ego won't let me tell them I changed my mind. I have to quit now. I already told them." So I already wrote the letter, the sob story letter for on the way out. Like it's done.
Mhm.
So yeah, there were many moments of doubt and still are. There's been times where like the roller coaster of income is scary. And I'm just like, well, maybe I should go back and get another job. Maybe I should
Mhm.
start Ubering on the side or something just to feel better. But God is a provider, and I just feel like everything, even if I don't understand it now, like being patient through the anxiety and the rough moments, like you really, in entrepreneurship, side hustling, whatever you choose to do, you got to do it scared. Like no one is going to, like I thought when I went full time and when I got certain publications and things, I just was like, oh, the imposter syndrome will go away. It doesn't go away. The fear doesn't go away. None of
Yeah.
all of that's there, but it's like, how do you keep a positive abundance mindset through those tough moments and keep going? um I don't even remember what the original question was, but like that was how I made the jump to full
Yeah.
time, because
Yeah.
I just felt like, okay, you've done this for 5 years
Right.
on the side. It can only go but so far,
Yeah.
continuing to be
Sure.
half of your attention.
Right.
Let's see how far this can go.
Right. Yeah. This is so wise because what I'm hearing you say are a couple of things that I think are so potent. One is it's not like you just woke up one day and were like, I'm going to start a blog and quit my job. You had been doing it for a very long time, 5 years, I think you said,
Hmm.
prior to making this leap. So you had some of that established, a lot of that established. You also said that you were laying the groundwork prior to that in terms of building relationships, right, as an interior designer and building your network. So you weren't really starting from ground zero. And I think there's a lot of benefit to doing that, just money
Yeah.
aside, right? You can have all the money,
Hmm.
you can have a year's worth of income set aside for that grace period while you figure it out. But
Hmm.
if you're doing that only and you're not making those connections or building that foundation, um, then you're almost just as much at a disadvantage. So doing those things at
Yeah.
once. And if you're somebody that needs 6 or 12 months of income stocked away to feel good and be able to make that move, then do it.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah. Because I just knew.
if you're more of the go with your gut, reading the signs, knowing what's going to
Hmm.
light you up and the potential and the fire in your belly is real, then do that. I'm very
Yeah.
much in a season of trying to do this for myself, but also speak this to my audience. We have a wisdom that lives inside of us if we'll just shut long enough to
Hmm.
listen to it and trust that we have a wisdom inside of us. You can go so far. There's so often we are always looking to someone or something for a specific answer. And I think that's part of, you can call it what you want. You can call it your higher power, God, your gut, your instinct, all of it. But it lives inside of you. And I think you just told us
Yeah.
a beautiful story of listening to that while also having a plan and being practical at the same
Right.
time.
Right. Yeah, you can be super spontaneous and just like wait for the moment where you feel like it's perfect. Like to me, it was truly just a gut thing, a God thing. Okay, if I don't do this now, it's not going to happen. Like it was just like almost like a visceral reaction there,
Right.
because people were like, "Oh, did something happen at work?" Or, what occurred? Nothing happened. It was just like it honestly, it couldn't have been a better situation because my company was on the West Coast. I'm now living on the East Coast. So I could have like done design work before noon and then log in when everyone else gets in at 12 my time, 9 their
Mm.
time, and work the full day. Super flexible hours, like unlimited PTO, like everything was in my favor to continue to do have my cake and eat it too. And it just felt like maybe you should, like, that sounds good, but maybe you should just do this. And
Mhm.
so I can't really explain it. And I just feel like it was just divine timing. And
Yeah.
yeah, I'm just grateful because honestly, I don't know if I waited on myself for everything to be perfect, it never would have happened.
I love that. I often tell the folks that I work with, your ducks will never be all in a row. So just get it out of your head. Just get one duck in a row today, okay? Or
Hmm.
this week or this quarter, right? Whatever your focus is. I love that. Now, you
And
mentioned, yeah.
oh, sorry, I was gonna say, and
Yeah.
another analogy, like the ducks are kind of just like have you ever watched like baby ducks with their mom? Like they're just kind
Mm,
of doing whatever, but it's like the movement is what gets them in line. The mama starts moving, so then that's when they line up. So it's like you got to be moving. You can't just be stagnant. You can't just be sitting.
so good.
So right? So you gotta, yeah, it's like I'm so afraid I'm gonna make a mistake. Well, until you're actually in action, until that pressure is on, because that was my thing. It's like, well, this has to work out, or I'm gonna have to go back to work, and I'm not going back to work. So I better I better get to work. I better stay up till 3 a.m. I better, but I gotta grind this out. I gotta figure this out. And sometimes like I'm a procrastinator. I feel like that is I can be a procrastinator, I'll say that. But I feel like that pressure we put on ourselves, like, okay, the deadline's tomorrow, like, sometimes that's what we need to take the leap and whatever works for you for sure.
Yeah. Sounds like you know yourself really well, and I love that you just made the switch from calling yourself a procrastinator to saying I can procrastinate because there's an energetic shift there, and I like that you did that. I've got to work on that myself. You mentioned
No, no, yeah.
imposter I feelings, I or syndrome. I read an article in the Harvard Business Review a number of months ago that said I'm going to use the words imposter phenomenon or imposter feeling because I'll send it to you. This article talks about, I think the title of it is We Have to Stop Telling Women That They Have Imposter Syndrome. And it talks about how women in the workforce for so long were never equipped to succeed in the way that men could. And it really goes into this fascinating sort of cultural look at um, how the idea of imposter syndrome disproportionately affects women over men. Viola Davis talks about having imposter syndrome. So you talked about it never really truly fully goes away, but imposter syndrome says that a person is sick. There's something clinically wrong with them and that can't go away. So that her idea or her position was let's call it imposter phenomenon because it truly is a phenomenon that women feel this disproportionately to men and they've never well historically haven't had the same opportunities as men, and I
Mm.
just thought it was really beautiful. But it's all that to say we're talking about the same thing: imposter feeling, imposter phenomenon, imposter syndrome, whatever you want to call it. How it always kind of creeps up. So, and I heard you say that it took you a long time to actually start to call yourself an interior designer before you could sort of wear that title with pride. So,
Mm.
how did you move to a place where you could confidently call yourself an interior designer? And what were some of the things, if you could recall, that maybe helped you shift your mindset a little bit?
Oh man, so I mean, I still struggle with it. I still,
Yeah.
especially just coming from High Point, you're seeing all of these incredible people that have teams. Because it's not even about like, oh, did you go to school for that or not anymore, right? Like the
Right.
Joanna Gaines of the
Did
world,
you see the panel?
this, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it was just like so many people they hire,
Mhm.
their weaknesses or they hire those credentials, um, and they make up for it in that way. But it also feels like sometimes like I went to a show house opening last night and just looking around and thinking about the budgets and the amount of work that was done and the tradesmen and things. It's just like, oh, I could never accomplish this because I don't know what I'm doing. I'm here. I was invited, but I'm not qualified. Like there's always this conversation in your head about, comparison is truly the thief of joy. You're on Instagram scrolling and you're looking at other designers, or you're looking at Arch Digest and thinking, okay, would I even know where to begin with this type of structure, et cetera? So there's always going to be something in you saying that you're not enough. But the one thing that helps me and one of my fellow e-designers and friends, Timala Stewart, she always talks about how you have to be comfortable being a beginner, like being a student, like a forever student. Like if you're okay with, like if you've accepted the fact that I don't know it all and that I can learn something new every day, and that's going to contribute to my growth, not just my own personal growth, my professional growth, my business. Um, there's empowerment in that. There's like, oh, well, I don't know what that is, but I can find out. Google is free. YouTube is as well. Like I can get another certificate. I can, get a mentor or shadow people or spend the day with a tradesman and learn this or that, and can and will. But everything I want to know, everything I want to do is within reach. And if you have that type of mindset, or remind yourself of that every day, it helps those little voices just fizzle out. And so I have a marketing background. After I went back to school for my MBA, I was like, I'm done with school. I don't care. I don't want to be a doctorate of nothing. I don't want to see another classroom. I just want to work and build and grow and eventually retire. But I have thought about, going back for a certificate or associates or whatever in interior design. But I also think that in this day and age, like my time would be better spent continuing to be that visionary, using those business skills to build a firm and scale, and then hiring those people that can draft and create renderings and do all the things that I can't do. They can do it in their sleep. So hire those people, pay them well, let them do their best work so that you can do your best work too. But yeah, like there was a post that someone posted earlier today, and it was just like the difference between an interior designer and an interior decorator. And there was a time on my Instagram feed that my Instagram profile, I couldn't put interior designer. I had interior stylist because I felt like but then I realized, oh, that's a whole nother actual position. So I'm not a stylist either. So I quickly took that off.
Yeah, I love that.
So yeah, there's always gonna be some self-doubt, and someone that truly does look at me and says she's not a designer. She buys things from retail and she picks like bold paint colors, and she's not knocking down walls. She's a decorator. And if that makes them feel, good calling me a decorator, then so be it. But I have to stand up every day and say, I'm proud of the work I do. I'm willing to learn more. I make mistakes. I'm human. And this is the career path I've chosen. And, you can't, I'm a natural people pleaser. So I'm saying this, but it truly is really hard because you want to continue to like feel like I'm enough. I can do this. But when you take a step back and you kind of see like, hey girl, your work has been on the cover of a magazine. You have had celebrity clients. You have spoken on panels. Like, how much more validation do you need? Like, you're good. People love, and not just your work, but they love you. So accept that and find energy from that. But yeah, all of that is easier said than done.
Yeah. Well, what you've just done, I think, is really normalize it. Here I am talking like fangirling with you and this
Oh,
like a beautiful, talented designer, and you know, you
thank
have
you.
collaborations with beautiful wallpapers, which we talked about. And um and of course a massive Instagram following and all sorts of publications. And it's so easy. And one of the things that I've, just like you, had to remind myself of, um, is that if you're going to compare yourself with yourself from a year ago,
Hmm.
instead of comparing
Yes.
yourself with the Amber Guytons or the Kate Bendewalds or whoever else in the world. Compare yourself. Where was I a year ago? What did I know? What did I not know then that I know now? What am I
Yes.
proud of? And if you take inventory or take stock of even the tiniest little wins,
Hmm.
if you need to write them down to sort of be able to reflect back on that, then do it. Um,
Hmm.
but comparing yourself uh, to your last week or last year is really a much healthier way of getting out of the comparison trap. And then it's actually could be productive.
And another thing I learned too, um, I avoid imposter syndrome kept me from High Point Market,
Mhm.
ADAC, and American Mart that's here in Atlanta. Any industry event, I was just like, I'm not qualified to go. I can't go. I barely got trade certificates over here. Like I can't resell certificates. Like I'm just like, I can't do it. Um, and then once I finally like went full time, I was like, okay, girl, we doing this. You're a full-time interior designer. You're going to these things that full-time interior designers go to.
Mhm.
And in meeting fellow interior designers, fellow side hustlers, and people that um, did this on the side too, or enthusiasts, or people that are just like figuring out, there is so much power in community. Like all the all the things that they say, like rising tides lift all boats, and there's enough for everyone, and what's for you won't miss you, and community over competition. Like all of those things are so true, and I can give you so many examples of each, because once I started embracing my fellow interior designers and influencers and people in this space, it's just been such a joy. It makes it feel so much more um you're just so empowered, you're so encouraged, you're so much more motivated because you're cheering each other along. Like I think it was Issa Rae who said, like don't worry about, like, you can network up, but please network, you know, left and right too. Like that networking horizontally versus vertically, like, oh, do you need this? How can I help you? Or you don't know how to do this? Like that is what has lifted me up the most in my career, like supporting my peers and finding community amongst other interior designers. Because when you approach it like, oh, well, I'm in competition with this other person, why should I give them my rates? Why should I share this resource? It's like that mindset, you're already going downhill if you look at it that way. There's so many
Mhm.
talented designers out there, and everybody's perfect project or ideal client is not the same. And there are so many people that are like, oh, I want this glam, or I want this 20,000 square foot house, and I want, like, that is not necessarily the restoration hardware look. Like that is not my clientele, that is not my portfolio. So if someone approaches me and wants to work with me and that's their aesthetic and their budget or whatever, I am happy to refer them to someone who's a better fit, because one, I want to support my fellow interior designers, but also I don't want to be miserable in this project that wasn't a good fit. I don't want this
Yeah,
client to have a poor experience, especially
right.
if this is the first time they worked with an interior designer. Like I want to be
Sure.
completely transparent with them and say, I love you. I really appreciate you wanting to work with me. But based on, what we talked about in the consultation or your questionnaire or whatever, like
Sure.
I think there is a much better client designer fit for you. And
Yeah.
here are five people to start with. Like there's just something that feels so good about that. And not just fellow designers, interior photographers, tradesmen, my
Totally.
wallpaper installer. Like I just want to see us all succeed.
Yes, absolutely. I love that. It's there's this lightness that happens when you feel like you're being authentic to yourself and what's going to light you up, and
Hmm.
recognizing that you're not for everyone and everyone's not for you, but you can still,
Absolutely not.
you're not just saying, sorry, I'm not the right designer for you. Good luck. You're,
Hmm.
yes, but here's some names of, here, let me send you in the right direction. Let me send you, give you something to work with. And that's still valuing them as humans and supporting them. And I just think it's a really, it's in a really abundant way to live life.
Yeah,
The,
that I think it's so important, and I also think that like what are you losing from that? What are you gaining from
right.
gatekeeping? What are you gaining from, being selfish with that client, or like yeah. Once you come to that realization, if you have a good heart and your morals and values are aligned, and like you just want to support others in the way that you hope to be supported. And so that's how I approach this business. And so far, so good.
I would say it's working out quite nicely, Amber. I
I'm
love,
trying. I'm
I've
trying.
never heard what's meant for you won't miss you, but that's one that I just
Hmm.
wrote down, and that's a keeper because
Hmm.
it's so true. Um,
Yes.
one of the things that just oozes from you is authenticity, and listening to you in other podcasts and seeing you in your reels, it's clearly something that's important to you, and just being true to yourself, being, you're, I get the sense that you really know who you are pretty well, even though we're all still evolving, and growing, hopefully, right? Um,
Yes.
what are some of the ways that you have allowed yourself to grow to this expansive influencer level, right? While still being true to yourself? Because I'm sure, and you just described one scenario, I'm sure that you've had to turn away opportunities. So what are some of the ways that you try to stay authentic and true to yourself in this large growth that you're experiencing?
So I think I called my business Blessed Little Bungalow. First of all, I love bungalows. Like any network that wants to like just let me design and renovate little bungalows all over Atlanta, like that is my dream. I just love the big porch and the brick and the columns and the craftsman style details, and it just makes me happy. But most bungalows are not more than like 2,000 square feet,
Mhm.
3,000 max. Like they're smaller homes, and there's something about that little and blessed. Like blessed is obviously my faith is important to me, but
Yeah.
there's power in being small. There's power in starting small and having a cozy home, and there's just so many layers to it. And so, um, one thing that I think that helps me stay grounded is just remembering where I'm from. Like I'm still a country rural girl from South Carolina that has big dreams and is creative and loves her mama and grew up
Oh,
next to her grandparents' farm and likes to tinker and things like her father. Like that is who I am. I'm just always been super curious and creative. And as far as authenticity goes, like I came in knowing that I didn't know it all. Like, this is a new space for me. I spent 15 years in corporate building something and going on this one path, and decided to make a turn. So I have to be flexible. I have to be transparent about what I don't know. I've turned down so many projects that I just felt like I wasn't qualified for, or sir, I love you and your family, but this is a historic home and I want it to be done right. And I am not the person for you that's going to get you there, or at least the fastest. Like having those honest conversations, um, and being okay with, like, again, like what is for you won't miss you. Like being okay with saying no, and knowing, like, because anytime I've stretched myself, whether that's beyond my boundaries or red flags with clients I've ignored or whatever, I always regret it. I regret it every time. I'm either paid like pennies compared to what I should have been paid, and I'm stressed and I can't sleep, or I'm annoyed, or it it never it like your peace is priceless. And so something that gives me peace is
Mm.
just being completely overly honest about what I believe I'm capable of. It's also like clients that are just like, no, 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 we don't care. We still want to work with you. If you just want to do three spaces right now, and then we'll do the rest when you're available, cool. Like, so there's times where it's like, okay, well,
Yeah.
thank you for holding my hand, and I'll hold your hand too, and
What a
we'll
great
get this
feeling
figured
though.
out. Yeah, yeah, to be chosen, to be selected, because like your one's home is the most intimate, space is where you spend the most time usually, well, if you include sleep anyway,
Yeah.
and where you build memories and your family, and it's such a privilege to be honored, to be invited in someone's home and to design it to really your liking, because like you're doing it for them, but it's like it's really for me. Or like vice versa. Like, no, no, I love this wallpaper and I'm trying to convince you to love it
Yeah.
too. But no, no, you're building it around their habits and their traditions and culture, and how safe they want to feel in their own home and all of that.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, it's like I don't take that for granted. And so I can't go in dishonest. I can't go in telling you
Hmm.
something but not feeling confident in it. Like I have to
Right.
be who I am. If I don't want, to keep this builder beige wall, I'm gonna tell you, I'm like, well, it'll be a bigger impact. Like we don't have to limit ourselves to an accent wall. We can paint the whole space. Like,
It's just
or
paint.
yeah, it's just paint. Like, oh, we don't want to put that much work into these cabinets. If you're gonna refinishing them, if you're just going to tear them out in 5 years, I'd rather you invest in, the new custom cabinetry, even if that's not today, maybe save and let's revisit that in
Right.
3 years. Like it's
Yeah.
important to have all those conversations. And I think you gain trust, you gain those bigger projects, those repeat clients, you gain all of that by doing that because it's the right thing to do.
Hey designer, you work so hard on your business, making sure that your website is flawless, your Instagram is swoon worthy, and your brand is on point. The problem is you're still facing a balance sheet that is less than inspiring. If you want a thriving interior design business that affords you a great salary without the burnout, listen up. Just breaking even isn't an option. Not only does it lead to overwhelm, stress, and sleepless nights, but it's a major drain on your creativity. If you're tired of just breaking even, if you're tired of missing out on opportunities because the money just isn't in the bank, and if you're ready to unlock the secrets of profitable interior designers, head over to designersoasis.com/habits to get my latest guide, The 7 Habits of Highly Profitable Interior Designers. Inside, you'll uncover what you really need to focus on to take you from barely making it to boundless possibilities. Abundance is yours for the taking. Download my guide that will help set you on the right track to upgrade your interior design business. Head over to designersoasis.com/habits and download yours today.
I've just recently had this conversation with somebody who was looking for a half stop measure to get them to where they wanted. The like, we're going to do the 1 year plan before we do the whatever plan. And I was like, you call me when you're ready to do the 10-year plan, because that's what I'm interested in. And it felt really
Ah,
good to
yeah,
to be able to say that and know
yeah,
that I was staying true to what lights me up. I'm not interested in
right.
the quick fixes. I have a bathroom right now that needs remodeling in my house, and I am so tempted to go like put new shower curtains in there or do something to fix it up. And, and I tell myself, for every dollar you spend putting half measures on those is
Mm-hmm.
going to just delay getting you to where you ultimately want to be. So just hold off,
Yeah,
keep saving, and do it when you can do it the way you want to do it. And um,
yeah.
that's part. I've feel a little silly saying this, but I've actually only recently realized this part of letting clients go
Mm-hmm.
It's not only about their budget or their timeline, which is what it usually is about, but
Yeah,
it's also like, you're not interested in antiques. That's not going to work for me, right?
absolutely. Hmm.
It's
Yeah.
getting really specific about what is it that what drew you to my work, and are we a good fit in that way? And
Hmm.
so that's a really liberating place to be. Sounds like
Yeah, and it's terrifying
yeah.
because it's like, oh my gosh, I need this project or quote unquote need. I need this project. I need to make this money in this quarter. I can't tell these people no. They want to work with me. What is wrong with me? Well, because
Yeah.
they didn't mention color in their entire questionnaire, all 50 questions or whatever I asked, they didn't mention it once.
Yeah.
And they don't like, or they don't know what they want, and they're
Mm.
maybe not ready to work with an interior designer, or
Yeah.
they don't have that budget. So why am I going to try to figure out how to make this work on $15,000 when I know 50,000 is required in order? Because otherwise you're setting yourself up for missing the mark, not achieving, meeting or exceeding their expectations, because they see your beautiful portfolio and what you can do, but they're not giving you all of the ingredients to bake the cake. So it's
Mm.
going to taste like, I don't know, not a cake. So you gotta have the ingredients. And it's like, how do you say that without worrying about hurting someone's feelings or them being offended? Because if they want to be offended, they will be. Like, people like, I started out being like, design on a budget, and because I really believe in mixing highs and lows, and everything
Sure.
doesn't have to be off the showroom floor. But what is affordable to one is not what another person thinks is affordable. Like when I talked to a
Right.
client earlier this year, and she was just like, the pillows, I can't pay $200 for pillows on this sofa. And I'm just like, okay, I understand. But know that this $63 pillow or $24 pillow from, I love Target, but from Target or from Wayfair or whatever, um, you might be replacing that in X amount of years, or it's not going to be as comfortable, or sit up with the cute little bunny ears like you like in the pictures like that you see on Pinterest. Like,
Yeah.
you just have to explain it in a way, and it's okay to prioritize some things over the other. Like maybe you will splurge on the $6,000 sofa, and then you'll um go a little cheaper, or wait until such and such is on sale to go with it, like that rug or a media cabinet. Like, but those are decisions we need to make together, and you can trust me. You hired me because you trust my eye, and you trust
Right.
my um expertise. So we have to, it's okay to explain those things, because
Yeah.
again, this is very personal, and it's a huge investment for these families. So you want
Yeah.
them to feel good about every decision.
Right. Yeah. And I tell my clients, we want to be a good steward of your investment.
Yes.
I want to address something you mentioned a minute ago, because this is something we recently talked about inside the Interior Designers Business Blueprint, which is my membership program that I run. But the phrase that I have come to use whenever I'm talking to a client whose budget doesn't match their wish list is this,
Hmm.
and it is, doesn't matter whether it's $1,000 or $1 million. That is a lot of money. And in my experience, that's going to go very quickly given everything that you want to do. And that is just the very first sentence that you could use to start that conversation and say, and then you can move into whatever, which is, let's talk about your budget and where we can, you get into all of that. But that one sentence
Yeah.
acknowledges that that is a lot of money. And
Hmm.
and then you just reference back to the wish list. And it's, I think, a
Hmm.
very sensitive way to address somebody's budget without, and still ground yourself in your expertise. But you're right. It might feel uncomfortable to have that conversation, at least the first couple of times you do it. Trust me, it gets easier.
Yeah.
But I'd rather have that moment of uncomfortability than what's going to be more uncomfortable is sitting with them at the design presentation and you either didn't pull it off because you couldn't fit a square peg in a round hole, or you've got a you're presenting something that's out of their budget. And that's going to
Hmm.
be an even harder conversation. So this is
Yeah, they're going to be angry. Like, why'd you show me this beautiful thing that I can't afford?
exactly,
Hmm.
exactly, which, is never fun. Um, so you, Amber, I want to round this conversation out with coming back to all of the things that you do. We talked about the fact that you are an interior designer, a blogger, a product creator, and influencer. You have so much going on. How do you, as a multi-passionate like myself, find balance and prevent burnout? And I know that you've pivoted a few times. And so, however that might come into this, I'd love to just hear your thoughts on this.
I have not felt burnout until I went full time. And the first year was more so because I should have started my wait list sooner than I did. Wait list. I should have, like, someone's ready to work with me now. Okay, well, let me work with them now, because otherwise, it's like all or nothing. Like, no, if they want to work with you, they can wait the 4 months or whatever. And if they can't, that's okay. They can work with someone else. Like, being okay with that, that was something that I struggled with. Um, and then the next year it was burnout from, I would say, some of the wrong clients, just projects that were never ending, or like, really, I struggled with them because I probably shouldn't have worked with them from the beginning, and I made compromises, like, with myself. Or they said they had worked with a designer before, and I asked them, well, why weren't they working with that designer again? They're like, oh, we just want to go in a different direction. Like, you should have taken the time to do your due diligence, girl. You should have investigated. You should have been like, okay, well, I know such and such interior designer. If it's all right with you, I'd love to have a conversation with them about their experience. Like, that's a really tough conversation to have. But again, if someone's going to be offended, they will be anyway. But, like, not doing things like that, and spending so much time with the good or decent clients. So one thing I heard at High Point last weekend, I want to say it was Leanne Ford. She said, I gotta say no to good so I can say yes to great. Like,
Uh-huh.
if you say yes to all the little things that you should have maybe said no to, there's not going to be room for that huge, perfect, ideal client and project. There's not going to be room for that TV opportunity, for that licensing partnership, for, but because you're so distracted and exhausted by all the things you should have said no to. And so I have not achieved balance. I have always been a bit of a workaholic, and just feeling like, okay, let me just get 3 hours of sleep and then let me work on this. Like, that at 37 years old does not work anymore. It worked when I was in corporate, it worked when I was in college. It doesn't work for me anymore. Like, I deserve to sleep. I deserve
Yeah.
to not have to scroll on my phone, and to take a walk without, like, I quit my job to work for myself. Why do I not feel like I've reaped any benefits from working for myself,
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I am trying to say no more, and trying to do a better job of continuing to outsource the ick, or outsource the things that I'm not good at, things that are
Outsource the
taking up
ick.
time.
I love
Yeah,
that.
like, the things that give me ick, the things that someone else can do in their sleep. Like, what's the best use of my time? There's this
Yeah.
pyramid that someone, oh man, I can't remember. It's like, just imagine a pyramid, and at the bottom, oh, I'm gonna have to look it up later and send it to you. But at the
Sure.
bottom, it's like all the things that you can do and do. And then the next layer is like all the things that you can do, um, that maybe someone else can do. I'm probably screwing this up, but the whole point is, like, the very top should be things that only you can do, that you enjoy. And then the things at the bottom, like, you're trying to move up into the pyramid so that you're only doing the things that you absolutely love, that only you can do, like a CEO mindset, like only the
Right.
CEO can make that decision. Whereas all the things underneath are things that maybe you can do them, but someone else can do it better. Or maybe you just don't have time to do it.
Yeah.
And you don't necessarily need to be in the decision maker or in the weeds with that task. So I'm trying my best to figure that piece out.
Yeah.
I know it's going to be, I've always wanted to keep my business small, but I know that building a team is something that I feel like the most people, the other designers that I've seen that have catapulted or has really like found their freedom and found their sweet spot, it comes with a team. It comes with outsourcing things to other people. And I also think that in this moment, like, okay, well, you enjoy client projects that you enjoy. Maybe as you're getting more partnerships and influencer opportunities and licensing deals and things, you're enjoying that creative process. You're enjoying being in that space, being I guess kind of becoming like a personality versus and a talent versus just that interior designer. And so let's stop operating like we were just a blogger and side hustler. Like, how are we approaching decisions? How are we like your company has evolved. It's like time to start showing up like it has. And so as the pendulum is swinging from 80% client work to like more non-client stuff, like what is that going to look like? So I'm figuring out the balance and the pivot and what that looks like to make and keep Amber happy. Right now, I'm figuring it out as we speak.
Same. That's exactly what's happening over here in this world. And you know what I've come to realize, at least about myself, is that I have a strong work ethic. I've been working since I was 14 years old, yet I'm 41. I can't keep that up. And you're right. That's why we went into these businesses, was ideally to have more freedom over our work schedule and what we've got on our plate. But the thing that I'm starting to recognize is that I can build in seasons of hustle, but I can't sustain that. So right now
Yeah.
we're sort of coming into the end of what has been a really big hustle season with me and my team. So I have 2 girls that work with me regularly, and then I've got some other ancillary folks that I don't talk to every day, but they work for me too. And I geared them up. I said, this is going to be what I want this year to look like. And we're going to go hard February and March, taper off April and May. But by the time June and July and August roll around, I want us to be just doing like, not the bare minimum, but I want us to be able to really enjoy our summers and still get the work done. And so we're at the end of this hustle season, and girl, I am ready. I'm ready for the summer season. But part of knowing and doing that, and this is where I do get really strategic, but know that it might not always fall the way that I planned it. Good Lord, like I said, pivot's my middle name. But what sustains me is knowing that there's light at the end of the tunnel, knowing that this is for a season.
It'll work
and
out.
This is, I can go ahead and work a little later today because I know that I have a vacation coming up, or I know that I'm going to take Friday off or whatever, or that I'm putting all of this work in to sustain me through the summer so that I can take some time off and be with my kids. So that hustle season mentality has been something that's really given me some motivation as I work through the really tough moments, because there's just so much going on right now, and it's all good stuff and it's built. But and then the other thing I was just listening to, I love the Handsome podcast with Tig Notaro and those ladies. But one of the things that Tig said was so wise, and it was, she really values her family. They adopted 2 kids after really heartbreaking infertility, which she's very public about. And she herself was very, very, very sick. So she now has this beautiful wife and family that they're so close. And she has had to teach herself, and I want to say she's in her 50s. She's like, I can't believe I'm just figuring this out. But it's like every time just because I can, just because I have time in my schedule for something, I don't have to say yes to it. Um,
Mm,
Hearing that, it just was so simple, but
mm-hmm.
very powerful and motivating and moving for me. I came back from High Point and I had like 10 texts from friends that I needed to get back to. And I feel very fulfilled in life and my friendship relationships. I don't have a lot of friends, but I have deep relationships with my friends. And it was
Yeah.
invitations to concerts, to dinner, to whatever. And I was so excited for all of it, but I didn't get back to any of them. I was like, sorry, guys, I'm recovering from a lot of stuff, just time traveling, do not time traveling, but the there's just been a lot going
Yeah.
on. And I'm just taking a quick break from any social activities. And they were like, great, we'll see you in the summer. And that was a
No, for
direct
sure.
result of hearing Tig talk about just because I have time in my schedule doesn't mean I should. And I'm not going to be like a
Yeah.
hermit forever, but I just need to
Mm-hmm.
do a little recovery. I'm learning
Yeah.
to be more of an introvert the older I get.
No, no, it's so important. It's like like just sitting here right now, I'm just like, okay, once this is over, I have to do this. I have to answer these 83 emails. I need to
Yeah.
finish this. I need to do that. I had a date scheduled. I already rescheduled it so I can do this. And like, there's like, my mind does not stop. So it's
Yeah.
like, even when I was flying back from High Point, I was like, okay, you got this hour on the plane. You can work on
Yeah.
this. Like, no, you can rest your eyes
Yeah.
and not do anything,
Yeah.
actually you shouldn't do anything, you should just
Mhm.
sleep.
Mhm.
Yeah, so it's to turn it off is hard because we guilt ourselves so much about
Oof.
like who sold us this dream of or nightmare really of being an entrepreneur, and that means you work 24/7.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe you do, but you don't have to.
Right.
You can take care of yourself, and you cannot
Yeah.
pour from an empty cup. So those client projects aren't going to be looking as cute. Those employees aren't going to be as in love with you. And like you're not going to
Yeah.
be able to be your best self and show up well if you're exhausted and stressed and
Yeah.
over it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so true. It's so true. And you can give your friends and your family and your clients the gift of you when you can show up rested and refreshed. So I love
Yeah.
that so much. Well, this has been a pure delight. Listening to you, you were wise beyond your years. You have so much going on. I'm so excited to just keep an eye on you and see what happens for you in this next season of life and business. We didn't even talk about pivoting, so we're gonna have to have you
Yeah.
back.
Well, I'm still figuring it out. I can talk
Yeah.
about it and being like, oh, it's okay to pivot, but I don't have any real world experience yet. I mean, I don't have any real world what I'm working on right now experience. Like I've pivoted obviously from other careers into interior
Sure.
design, but it's like, okay, what do you do when you work so hard to get someplace and
Yeah.
you don't like it? This isn't what you signed up for. I'm figuring that piece out. So
Yeah.
hopefully, yes, our next conversation, I'll have some gems to drop based
Yeah.
on that experience.
Well, let's hold each other to this conversation because I'm also in a season and I think of the same thing and I think it's totally normal.
Mhm.
And I don't have an answer for that because I'm still on that train with you, but I think this would be something that a lot of people would love to hear about. We're not saying we're going to come back with answers, but maybe some experience and stories to share.
Right, right. Take the answers with a grain of salt. But I love what you talked about with seasons. It really like there was this meme I saw the other day. It's like everything in nature, everything in the world shows us that there is a time, to shed your leaves, to
Mhm.
rest, to be whatever. Like, bears hibernate, insects. I don't know where the mosquitoes go during the winter, but they go somewhere. And,
Spoken like a
everybody,
true
everybody.
Southerner.
Like everybody takes a break, and it's like
Yeah.
why do you think that you don't need to take a break? Like um yeah, so we're figuring that out in life together. But but yeah, sleep is one thing I have realized that no, you need that more than anything. I went to a stretch session today,
Mhm.
and they just continue to talk about the same things. that, exercise, water, sleep. Like, I feel like that's the cure for everything. And so, yeah, we gotta take care of ourselves, friends.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Amber, before you go, could you please share with our audience, where can we find you online?
Yeah, so again, my name's Amber Guyton. I can be found and my firm is Blessed Little Bungalow, and I can be found at blessedlittlebungalow.com, all one word. Same for my Instagram at Blessed Little Bungalow, TikTok, all the things, YouTube. So if there's anything I can help you with, you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me, Amber at blessedlittlebungalow.com.
Fantastic, Amber. Thank you so much for your time. Have a wonderful rest of your day. I'll talk to you real soon.
Thank you, Kate. Thank you so much.
Bye. Thank you so much for letting me spend part of this day with you. If you're loving this podcast, please share it with a friend who you think might also love it. Or perhaps you can take just 30 seconds to open your podcast app and leave us a 5-star rating. And if you have just an extra minute, go ahead and leave a review. This helps me so much, and it helps other designers like you to find the podcast. It also adds fuel to my motivation to keep making great episodes just for you. However you choose to help, please know I appreciate you so very much. Thank you, my friend. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll see you next time.